Another day, another video that I'm filming on my floor. Hey guys, it's Sammy. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Happy February. If you haven't been on my channel before, you might not know that I am obsessed with all things romance. Prior to the last couple of years, it's been mostly YA contemporary romance. But today, in the spirit of February, I wanted to do romance recommendations across YA, new adult, and adult. Last year, around the same time, I filmed a YA contemporary romance recommendations video. I'll link it up above. I'm not going to say this is the most groundbreaking list. A lot of these, if you're in the space, you know, but I did want to share them. I did want to kind of get out, in general, what I've been really enjoying about in these genres. So you can check out that video up above if you want to get some more, in general, YA contemporary romance. I'm not going to include any of those books that I discussed in that old video in this one. Also down below, I'm going to link my Goodreads favorite shelf. So that includes all the books I love, but I just wanted to include it down there so you guys can also get a gist of what other books I love. So maybe you can trust my recommendations more, because I'll be honest, I'm not great at selling books, but hopefully if you look at the books I've loved, or if I'm recommending a book that you also love, you can kind of trust these other recommendations I'm about to throw at you. So that's all out there. So we're going to be going through these books that I'm going to be recommending today. So like I said, we have 3 different categories: YA, new adult, not really a genre, books I've classified as new adult, and then straight up adult. All of these, the main plot point, the main driving source of the book is the romance. So I'm just putting that out there. We're also going to go by like most hard-hitting to fluffiest, just because I feel like that's a good grasp on whether you're really going to like it. And without further ado, I'm just going to get into it. So we're going to start off with YA, move into adult. So starting off with the book that bends the most of these rules and is not necessarily centered so much on a relationship or romance, but the romances in this book made me feel so many things, and this was actually my favorite book of 2020. So that is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This follows 2 siblings in alternate timelines. So every alternating chapter is from a different twin's point of view. So the first chapter is from the point of view of the boy twin, and he is in the past, and then the next chapter is in the future from the girl twin's point of view, and between the past and the future, the twins have had a falling out. Both of the characters in this have a love interest that is kind of explored in both time periods. While the romances aren't the only reason I love this book just brought me so many feelings, family dynamics, but then also these relationships that maybe aren't perfect. I think that's really what's driving this, is that it's the most hard-hitting because it deals with a lot of deep and dark shit, family shit, but also the romances aren't like 100% perfect. They're not these super fluffy romances. There's a lot of shit that they go through in these relationships in the past when they're 12-ish, 13. So when they're 13, and then I think again in the future they're 16 or 17. So I mean, you deal with some generational ish up in here, and it is just so beautiful. It is so beautiful, and the romances put me through it. Okay, they make you think. And I think this is really, there's one adult book that I think will make you think about relationships, but the rest of these are kind of like, you know, fluff. And that's what I usually enjoy, but I figured I want to kind of give a diverse grouping here. Like, even if you're watching this video, you're probably looking for romance, but there's lots of different romance. So this is spectacular. If you're gonna read one book out of this list, I hope it's this one, just for the fact that you get a lot from it. I read romance because I sometimes want to just like bliss out, but sometimes they surprise me. Moving on to like the next most hard-hitting, little less than this one, that's The Start of Me and You by Emery Lord. So this kind of centers around our main character, whose boyfriend that she was dating for about 6 months has passed away after a water camping incident. But she's dealing with this and the fact that everyone kind of associates her as the dead boy's boyfriend, but they never, I mean, they were dating for, you know, a couple months, but they weren't as close as, you know, they might have been, but she feels like she's always going to be permanently attached to this boy. So she's dealing with a lot of that. There's a lot of fear of the water and just like general unease about this traumatic experience that she went through. And obviously there's a lot of discovering yourself. This is definitely one of the ones where it's a romance, right? but it's definitely a YA contemporary romance, but it deals with a lot of YA stuff, you know, finding yourself, figuring out who you want to be in the world, figuring out what you like to do, what you want to do in the future, yada yada yada. But the romance in this is super sickly sweet. It's like a sort of nerdy sort of romance, I guess, and it's just very pure. And a lot of the writing in this really surprised me, especially in like the romance aspect. This is a YA, it's not risque by any means, but sometimes the main guy character and the moments in the relationship are pretty slick, okay? It was some good shit sometimes, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the mix of like being just like a pure romance, the boundaries that they have, they're friends, and then, you know, it kind of edges into more, and the balance between like, obviously she's dealing with a lot of stuff, he has his own problems as well, but they sort of bounce off of each other, and they still have this like very witty banter, and even though they're like nerdy, they still have like some like good moments. And this is just like very, very, it's dark, it has its dark moments, but the romance shines through. It's just very sweet, and I enjoyed the coming of age story of it. Next up, I don't know why I'm kind of making this like sussed out a little bit, like it's not fluffy, because it is, but I didn't want to like downplay how this can be kind of like not dark, but it does deal with some shit. So the next one is Heartstopper by Susman. Obviously this is a graphic novel. It is a YA contemporary romance about these two boys that are going to this private high school, and one of the boys is like publicly out as gay, and he kind of been dealing with some shit for it, and he kind of has like this like abusive sort of relationship he's in, or very toxic relationship. And he kind of strikes up this friendship with this other boy. He kind of gets him into rugby, and they kind of start, you know, shifting into more of a romance-centric space. Once again, it deals with some shit, you know, toxic relationship. This has, I think, 4 volumes. They're going to be out as of this year, so there's definitely a lot more to read here. And I mean, it's fluffy. Like, it's also a graphic novel, so I feel like you kind of get more of that fluff factor just by the fact that a lot of these scenes that they're showing you are like going to be the scenes that kind of push forward their relationship more than anything else, so they're going to be kind of fluffy, but it does deal with some shit, okay? It does deal with some shit, and I didn't want to downplay that by putting it at a more fluffy level. And if you haven't read this yet, which once again, a lot of these books are probably not going to be super surprising, but if you haven't read this yet, it's fantastic. It's so quick. Obviously it's a graphic novel, but it's just super fun. And if you want to binge something like this Valentine's Day season, just read all these volumes. I mean, come on. Super easy. I probably should be doing that, but I have so many other books to read. And then these last two. So excited to have some new YA contemporary romances to recommend, because I mean, I talked about all of those in other videos, but these I read this year, and I'm really glad that I have some new recommendations to put in this video, because these are gonna be new classics for me. So starting off with, I'd say these two are about the same on like the fluffy factor. I mean, they deal with some things. Neither of these I say are like pure fluff, but they're pretty close. So number one, my queen, Jen Bennett, has come through again with Chasing Lucky. This is a story of Josie St. Martin. She's moving back to Beauty, Rhode Island, which is where she kind of grew up. She spent about 5 years here between the ages of like 8 to 12. That up to 12, or yeah, 8 to 12, that's 5 years. And while she was living here, she kind of struck up this friendship with this boy Lucky, and they kind of had like a very strong friendship, like they were inseparable. Right before Josie leaves, because this takes place in the future, they're 16 or 17 now. Right before Josie leaves, Lucky gets in a terrible accident where he's in a fire and he's in the hospital. At that same time, Josie's mom gets into a big fight with Josie's grandmother, and they leave town. Josie never says goodbye to Lucky. They haven't talked at all since, and Josie's now back in town, and Lucky's still living there. Drama ensues, right? You know, it's just, I don't know what Jen Bennett puts in her books. They're so addictive. And I'll be honest, like I started reading this and I was like, I don't know if I'm vibing with it. And then you gave me like 25 pages. I was like obsessed. I was like engrossed. I was absolutely invested in Josie and Lucky's relationship to the max extent. This gave you the perfect amount of angst, witty dialogue, just like bad boy vibes while still being a softie, you know, like bad boy softie. I'm an absolute sucker for best friends to like he's whatever, you know, he's the bad boy around town, to like lovers, like in like so good, okay? Like, so good. I was just obsessed with it. I've talked about Jen Bennett a million bajillion times. She does good communication while still having a plot. Like, the miscommunication trope is used a lot, and I'm not gonna lie, an aspect in here to some extent, but it's always in a realistic way, and it doesn't last that long. This just deals with very realistic issues. It deals with trust issues. It deals with having like an absent parent, and it just does it so well. And the romance, the sex positivity, the everything that Jen Bennett gives me, she gave me so good in here. And in my last video that I did for this, I recommended Alex Approximately. I also said I like Starry Eyes. This I think is on the same level as those. It might be, I don't know, I don't want to make commitments yet. It's definitely above Serious Moonlight. That's definitely still my least favorite, but Chasing Lucky, Starry Eyes, and Alex Approximately all got 5 stars for me. They're all all-time faves. I'm just obsessed. So if you haven't read this yet, do it. Okay, last book for the YA category. Also read this year. Took me by, I mean, I knew I was gonna like it, you know, but I wasn't sure how much. I adored Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This is the story of these 2 kids that go to the same school. One of them runs the Twitter for this big burger joint that her mom and her dad started back in the day, but it's kind of blown up. And then the other boy owns a local grilled cheese joint in New York City, and he also runs the social media. But what happens is that this big burger joint kind of steals the idea from this little grilled cheese place. They like steal their recipe, and it strikes up a Twitter war. They don't know in the beginning that they're fighting with each other because they go to school with each other, and they're not like friends, but you know, but like they go to the same school, but they don't know that. We know that. They kind of strike up a friendship, then they find out about each other. Chaos. I mean, it's chaos, but it's such great chaos because communication, okay? Like, it doesn't drag on forever. Okay, one of them doesn't figure out about the other one and then keep it to themselves and still be a bitch about it. They like find out about the other one and then they talk about it, and they're kind of like, they strike up a friendship because they're in like swimming together. And it's an enemies to lovers, you know. It's like a class clown with like the valedictorian super studious girl. There's like a lot of family dynamic. The romance though is just so well developed in my opinion. Like the whole like misunderstood sort of vibes between like a class clown and like an A+ girl that kind of moved to New York City from like her small Nashville town. I mean, Nashville isn't necessarily small, but she like had a big change of life, and this kid is obviously like, this is a very elite private school. This kid just lives and works at his like little grilled cheese joint, whatever, or sandwich shop, and they kind of like strike up a friendship based on like those similar sort of circumstances. And then on top of all this, they're also talking over this anonymous app. There's a lot of things going on in this. I think that just made it sound very confusing. Essentially, they're crossing paths in a lot of ways, right? These 2 people, they're like destined to be together, and they have angst. They have cute moments. The dialogue, the plot, it's just so much fun. The communication between the characters is just so great. The side characters are well developed. It's just beautiful. Truly, it was so much fun. Like, I found so much joy in this romance. I love that it had a fun plot. It was just like a good time. Yeah, I don't know what else to say here. Amazing, spectacular. If you're into YA contemporary romance, or even if you're not, you pick up some of these books, okay? Maybe for me. Okay, next up. We're gonna be moving into new adult. Some of these, I mean, new adult is a weird genre as it is. It's not really a genre. And one of these I think is technically classified as adult, but it just like gives me new adult vibes. And then one of them is new adult, but it's just like over the top. So let's start with most hard-hitting to fluffiest. I guess that means we're gonna start with Punk 57. This is by far the raunchiest book on this list. It is absolutely ridiculous. This book is ridiculous, okay? I know this is a recommendation video, but I just want you to know that going in, that this book is wild, okay? This follows the story of, what's this guy's name? I'm just gonna say these 2 people, right? They've been pen pals for like their whole life, but for the last year they haven't talked. So that's how we set it up. They don't know each other in real life. They've just been pen pals from different schools. Flash forward to now, it's been a year since they've talked because something happened. We don't know what happened, but basically the girl just thinks that the guy ditched her. You know, he just like peaced out. He doesn't want to talk to her anymore. And they were close, like they were close. And then this new guy shows up at the girl's school. The girl's name's Ryan. And this new guy shows up at her school and they strike up this like romance thing. And it's wild. Like, it's whack. He knows that she's Ryan from the letters. She doesn't know that, at least in the beginning. And then there's like this all other shit, you know, there's a lot of shit going on in this book. This takes place in high school, and they're 18. It's just wild, okay? It's insane. It's Wattpad to the max, but written better. You know, it was a good book. It was a good book. I'm recommending it here. It was like one of my favorite books of last year, okay? I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm just putting that in your mind. So when you go into it, you're not shocked, okay? Very explicit. But it's good shit. It's good shit, okay? I'm not gonna out here shitting on Penelope Douglas because I enjoyed that ish. It's good. It's good-ish, okay? And it's new adult, I guess. I mean, they're in high school, so like, I mean, they're technically the same age as these people, but it's different vibes, okay? So that means it's new adult. And the reason I'm putting it as like the most hard-hitting is because it's just like weirdly dark. I mean, it's not like super dark, but it's got like dark vibes. And it's just like very grungy sort of vibes. And the other two like just aren't in the same level, you know? But I wanted to recommend this because I just had to, you know, I had to. Moving on to the next most fluffy, this is, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much on this. I mean, most of the rest of these adults, I feel like I've talked about to a decent extent, so I'm not going to dwell on them too much. I mean, Red, White, and Royal Blue, guys, come on. If you haven't read this book yet, you're missing out. It is a love story between the first son of the United States, first son, the son of the President of the United States, and the Prince of England. It's just such a vibe. It's such a vibe. It takes place in the 2020 election circuit, so end of 2019 into 2020. We have a female president that won in 2016, and this is kind of her re-election situation, but it's fluffy. It's fluffy. It deals with some shit. It deals with some shit, but it's fluffy, okay? Like, we're not gonna say, like, this is very hard-hitting. Like, it's not. It deals with some shit. It's one of my favorite books of all time. That's Red, White, and Royal Blue by Case McWoodson. And then most fluffy, I don't think this deals with a lot of hard shit. And I mean, this is technically also like adult, but I don't know. This just like gives me very new adult vibes. That's The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I don't remember how old these characters are supposed to be, but they give me like very much like first job out of college, like there's bowling kind of vibes. But I think it is technically adult. I feel like they're like 26 or something. I mean, it's more adult, but we're transitioning into adult now, so it's fine. This is just like hate to love. This is just like, he's only nice to me. You know, he's mean to everybody else except you. You know, like those vibes. And it's good vibes, okay? These are the assistants of two CEOs, and their publishing companies are merging. The girl's publishing house and her CEO is very like free-spirited, like they like are just like kind of like living, like they love books and they love to read or whatever. And this is like very like top line, like we care about money, like we're in the publishing industry to make money. Like they're very like strict and like money oriented, and they like sit across each other because the CEOs have like offices right next to each other, so they like hate each other because they're from different worlds. But then since their companies are kind of combining, they have to like start interacting a lot more so they can kind of like mix cultures or whatever, and it just turned into a whole thing. And I haven't read this in a really long time. I want to say I read this in 2019, 2018. I want to say it was 2019. And it was just like so, it swept me up so quick, like I was obsessed. And just like, it's like an impulsive, quick, fun read that's pretty hot. Hot level, I don't know, should I, at the end of these, should I just rank them by like hotness? I mean, some of these YAs are like nothing, but like, I think I might do that at the end, just as like a quick thing, so stay tuned for that. Now we're gonna move into adult. Most serious to least serious. Okay, let's get it. Last up. So I had to recommend this. It's Landline by Rowell. This just deals with some hard relationship shit, but you know, we have to be a little conscious, you know? We have to be a little, sometimes the hard of relationships and getting that perspective really just makes you like kind of like feel things. This is, God, this plotline is so weird. So this is about a married couple. They're old. They have kids. I mean, old. They're older. They have kids. The woman is very career oriented. She's trying to get her big break in the comedy space, so she works a lot. It's Christmas. They're all planning to go to the husband's family's house in like Wisconsin or something, and she kind of finds out that if she wants this like big break, she's gonna have to work for Christmas. So she decides to stay home, not go to the husband's family for Christmas, and they're fighting, right? You know, the husband and the wife are fighting. So the wife is lonely, living at her house during the Christmas time, so she goes to stay at her mom's house for like a couple nights because she's just feeling lonely. She's like not sleeping well. She's just like losing her mind because her and her husband are fighting. She hasn't been able to get in contact with him at all because there's like a time difference, and like it's just not good vibes. Also during this time they're like flashing back to like their relationship in the past, so you get like a good wholesome view of like their relationship and how it started and like how they fell in love. That shit got me because that shit was cute. Okay, but you know, now we're dealing with like the hard shit in the future, but their past relationship was very romance heavy and it was very sweet. Like I don't want to say like this is all sadness, because it does touch on a lot of like the really sweet parts of starting a relationship, but then it deals with the hard shit in the future. Regardless, she's at her parents' house and she's sleeping in her old childhood bedroom, and her cell phone's dead or something, and so she goes to try to call her husband who's at his parents' house on her like old house phone. And when she calls him, she realizes she's talking to him in the past. Dun dun dun. Okay, I'm not gonna say any more because honestly it hit. Like, this is one of my favorite books of all time. Like, it's not like, you know, maybe it's not top 10, but it's on that list on Goodreads. Like, it hit. It was just like surprised the hell out of me. I think it's just very, I don't want to call a Rainbow Rowell book poignant, but like it kind of was. It kind of talked about a lot of ish, and it was good. I mean, it had romance, you know, this is like one of the least romantic, but it deals with like relationships, so it's like, I don't know, like it's good. It's really good. The rest of these are like romances, so like, you know, we got that out of the way. You know, that's more of like, it's a romance, but it edges into literary fiction, you know. This next one, Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. This is my probably the most obscure recommendation, probably the one you're least likely to know anything about, but this is about a woman who, her best friend gets this book and she's loving it. She's like, this guy's coming to a book signing, like, you should really read this book and then we should go to his book signing. And so she starts to read this book and she realizes it's based on her life and this relationship that she had when she was younger with this boy. And she's kind of like, what the hell? Why is this man writing this book about me? Like, I haven't talked to him in years. Like, I don't know how long it's been, probably like 10 plus years at this point. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to this book signing, I'm gonna deal with this man, and yada yada yada. Drama ensues. But this is a book inside of a book, so it's alternating chapters between girl in the present day reading the book and then also excerpts from the book that are kind of a look back into her life as a child and the relationship she has with this boy. Present day, it's kind of like a hate to love situation. Past, it's like a very much best friends to lover situation. It's dark. Like, I know I put this one in like the dark category, but it's because it like deals with I mean, it's not as like romance centric. This is dark, like dark, but it is more romance centric because it's still like a romance book, but it's dark. It deals with like parental abuse, alcoholism, foster care, sexual assault, death, suicide. Like, it deals with some ish, okay? I'm sorry I keep saying ish. It deals with some shit. Like, I'm trying to be YouTube friendly here, but it's like really good. It's like really good. Like, I was so invested in these people's relationship that like spans like time. Like, what, they like became friends when they were young, I don't know how old, like let's just say 5, and then they were together until they were like 16 maybe, so that's 11 years as it is, and then now it's 10 years later, 26 maybe, I don't remember exact numbers, and it's just like it's good shit, okay? And this is the only recommendation I really have that's really rare, you know? I'm trying to give some more obscure recommendations here, but this is good. Okay, last two with the bread test. Helen Huang. So basically, our main love interest in this is, his name's Kai. He has autism and he just doesn't really have a lot of interest in relationship, but his mom like really wants him to get into this relationship. So when she's over in Vietnam, actually she's over there I think looking for a, you know, arranged marriage wife for Kai, and she doesn't really like any of the women that she meets. She thinks they're all like kind of in it for the money and like whatever. She kind of wants like a hard working woman or whatever. She runs into our main character Esme, who is working as a, I guess like maid in a bathroom in a hotel. So she invites Esme to come back to the States. So it's an arranged marriage situation, sort of. I mean, it's not like super deep, like it's not like they have a wedding planned and everything. And this was just like, it was sickly sweet. It was also hot. It was just like, it dealt with a lot of ish. I keep saying that. I don't remember a lot about this now, I'm not gonna lie. I read this 2 years ago? No, I read this last year. I don't remember when I read it last year, but it has kind of slipped from me, I won't lie. but I know it is still really good. If you didn't like The Kiss Quotient, which is the first book in the series, this follows like a side character from the first book. If you didn't like The Kiss Quotient, I didn't like The Kiss Quotient as much, but I love this. I adored this. So don't let that deter you. This was a really good time. Please check it out. We're already to the last recommendation. Damn. Okay. Last recommendation I have for you guys today. Yeah, it's pretty classic. It's The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This is a hate to love romance between the best man and the first lady. The best man and the maid of honor. So they're at this wedding. Everybody gets sick except for the best man and the maid of honor. So the bride and groom are like, we don't want our honeymoon to go to waste. So they give it to them to go on this honeymoon. And they hate each other because of past things. But they have to go on this honeymoon together because, I mean, it's a free vacation. But they have to like stay together and whatever. You know, forced closeness or whatever. And it's just really fun. Like, it deals with a lot of like cute shit. Like, they're in Hawaii, you know, vibing. And it's just like a good time, you know? It has good vibes. It's just like ultimate fluff, you know? Like, this deals with, you know, this deals with some things. This has some things, but they're a little more drama and less like deep, you know? So this is like mostly fluff, and honestly this wasn't as hot as this. I know I'm about to do that ranking of hotness, but this, I mean, this had scenes. Like, I mean, you see a lot of like pink tabs in here. Like, I'm not like undermining this book, but it's just like, you have to just kind of take my word for some of these, because I mean, they're romance. How much can I really say about it? Because, you know, you're reading it for the romance, and really what's going to get you is the romance and the writing, you know? So maybe it has a fun plot that you're kind of interested in, but if the romance is just not there, like, that's really kind of all about the writing. So you just have to trust me when I say the writing is good. Okay, since this is a romance video, not like just YA romance, I'm trying to rank these based on like, you know, Steam level. And some of these people are children, so it's like a little weird. Some of these are just straight up nothing. So like, I'll go through those first. So I'd say on like the Steam factor, these books gave me nothing. Like Landline, you know, like there's some like past things, but like nothing stands out to me. The Started Me and You doesn't have anything deep. I mean, there's some angst, you know, but there's like nothing, you know, whatever. Tweet Cute had like nothing. Like, the romance was great, the dialogue was great. There was like, I like, you know, my like got butterflies, but like, you know, it wasn't steamy. I mean, this is YA. And then Heartstopper's like really sickly sweet, but it doesn't like take you places. I don't know where I'm going with that. This has like a little bit more angst, but it's not like, I don't want to get it twisted. Like, this is still probably in the same category, but I do recall like more angst. I don't know if that's just because when they're older, the girl's also with kind of like an older guy, and there's like kind of just like, you know, more angst with that. Absolutely top tier if you're looking for some like tension, palpable tension in your YA, then just read Jen Bennett. Chasing Lucky is absolutely the most tension that you're gonna get in a YA that I've read, really. I mean, yeah, I don't read a lot of more, I wouldn't call this explicit because it's not. It's just very like positive, and it's not like, you know, it's not A Court of Mist and Fury, okay? Like, it's not like that, but it does give you things. So that's next. And then out of like the new adult, then I'd go the Honeymooners, honestly, because I don't think this was Fade to Black, but I don't think it was like that deep. Like, it, you know, it didn't hit that hard, you know? And then it'd probably be Swear on This Life had like long-term angst, which, while the characters were young in the like past that they were reading this, that they were like experiencing this, it wasn't like the same. I'd honestly still put it above the Honeymooners because there's just like so much angst that went into it. Whereas the Honeymooners was kind of like, you know, not the same. Then it would be The Bride Test. This was pretty hot. Then it would be The Hating Game because, well, no. Then it would be Red, White, and Royal Blue. Well, Red, White, and Royal Blue might become before this. I don't remember. I mean, it'd probably be The Bride Test, then Red, White, and Royal Blue, just because you you get more invested in these characters, and it makes like the things that do happen like more invest worthy. I wouldn't say it's like super like steamy or whatever though. The Hating Game was, yeah. And then Punk 57's on a whole different level, okay? A whole different world. She's on her own planet, okay? That's on some other ship. Okay, I hope those different rankings and all that shit made sense. I hope that steam level thing at the end kind of helped your decision making process. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below any recommendations you have for me, what you think about these recommendations, your thoughts on any of the books I recommend. Just let me know any thoughts you have down below so we can discuss this. I hope this was helpful. I hope this will inspire your reading for Valentine's Day, for like summer, you know, anything. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be seeing you hopefully a lot this month. I really don't want to make promises here because there's a lot of things in the works. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.